Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that might sound a little strange, but is a huge deal in the world of shipping: sweat. No, I'm not talking about working hard on the deck, although that happens too. I'm talking about ship sweat and cargo sweat, two phenomena that can cause millions of dollars in damage, ruin goods, and create massive headaches for everyone involved in the supply chain. If you've ever wondered how products can leave a factory in perfect condition, but arrive at their destination moldy, rusted, or warped, this is often the culprit. So, grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's unravel the steamy science behind condensation at sea. First things first, what exactly are we talking about? In simple terms, both ship sweat and cargo sweat are forms of condensation. You see it all the time in your daily life when a cold can of soda gets wet on the outside on a humid day, or when your bathroom mirror fogs up after a hot shower. It's all about moisture in the air, called humidity, turning from a gas, which is water vapor, into a liquid when it comes into contact with a cooler surface. The temperature at which this happens is called the dew point. Now, imagine that same principle, but on a massive scale inside the giant steel box of a ship's cargo hold, sailing across oceans with fluctuating temperatures. That's where the trouble begins. Let's break down the first type: ship sweat. This happens when the ship's structure itself, the metal hull and decking, becomes the cold surface. Picture this: a vessel is loaded in a cool, dry port, let's say somewhere in northern Europe during the winter. The steel hull of the ship cools down to match the cold air and sea temperature. Then, it sets sail for a tropical destination, like Southeast Asia. As the ship enters warmer, more humid climates, the outside air temperature rises quickly. This warm, moist air gets into the cargo hold through the ventilation system. When this humid air hits the still-cold steel surfaces of the ship, the ceiling, the walls, the hull, the moisture in the air instantly condenses. It's like the ship itself is sweating. This condensation can then drip from the overheads and bulkheads directly onto the cargo below, causing water damage, rust on metal goods, and creating the perfect environment for mold and mildew to grow on organic products like coffee beans or textiles. So, how do we get ship sweat? The key formula is simple: a cold ship sailing into a warm, humid region. The greater the temperature difference between the ship's structure and the outside air, the more severe the sweating will be. This is a classic cold to warm voyage problem. The ventilation systems on a ship play a crucial role here. If you ventilate the hold with warm, moist air when the cargo and ship structure are cold, you're essentially pumping in the problem. You're feeding the condensation machine. That's why managing the ship's ventilation is a science in itself, and we'll touch more on that later. But the main takeaway for ship sweat is that it's the ship's body doing the sweating, and the water drips from the structure onto the goods. Now let's flip the script and talk about cargo sweat. This is the opposite scenario. Cargo sweat occurs when the cargo itself is the cold surface and it starts to sweat. This typically happens when a ship is loaded with cargo in a warm, humid port, say Brazil, and then sails to a colder climate, like northern Russia. The cargo, which could be anything from bags of cocoa beans to rolls of paper, is loaded at the ambient warm temperature and holds a lot of that heat. The ship then sails into a much colder region. The outside air and sea temperature drop, cooling the ship's steel hull. This cold hull then starts to cool the air inside the cargo hold. When the moist air that was originally loaded with the warm cargo, or the moisture released from the cargo itself, comes into contact with the now chilled surface of other cargo items, it condenses. So, you get condensation forming directly on the goods. Think about a container full of canned goods loaded in a hot, humid port. The cans are warm, the ship travels to a cold port. The outer layers of cans near the container walls will cool down fast, but the cans in the center will stay warm for a long time. The moisture in the air inside the container will condense on the cooler cans, causing the labels to peel off and the cans themselves to rust. This is a textbook case of cargo sweat. The formula here is a warm, often moisture-releasing cargo, traveling into a colder environment. It's a warm to cold voyage problem. Unlike ship sweat where water drips from above, cargo sweat forms directly on the product, which can be even more destructive, especially for packaged goods, electronics, or anything sensitive to direct moisture. So, to recap the key difference, ship sweat is when the ship's structure is cold, and the air is warm and moist, causing condensation on the ship's interior that drips onto the cargo. Cargo sweat is when the cargo itself is cold, and the surrounding air is warmer and moist, causing condensation to form directly on the goods. Or, alternatively, when a warm cargo releases moisture as it cools down in a cold environment. One is about the ship sweating, the other is about the cargo sweating. Both are driven by the relationship between surface temperature and the dew point of the air inside the hold. You might be thinking, this all sounds like a huge problem. And you're right, the damage can be catastrophic. For example, steel coils arriving at their destination covered in rust might be rejected entirely, leading to a total loss. A shipment of high-quality paper that gets wet can be ruined by warping and mold. Coffee or cocoa beans can be completely spoiled by mildew, rendering them unusable and worthless. Beyond the financial loss of the cargo itself, there are costs associated with delays, disputes, insurance claims, and reputational damage for the shipper, the carrier, and the receiver. It's a chain reaction of negative consequences that all starts with a little bit of water vapor. So, what can be done to prevent this? The battle against ship and cargo sweat is fought on several fronts, primarily through proper ventilation and the use of desiccants. Let's talk about ventilation first. Modern cargo ships are equipped with sophisticated ventilation systems. The golden rule of ventilation at sea is the dew point rule. It states, you should only ventilate the cargo hold when the dew point of the outside air is lower than the dew point of the air inside the hold. Ventilating under these conditions brings in drier air, which can help remove moisture. However, if you ventilate when the outside air's dew point is higher, meaning the outside air is more humid, you actively pumping moisture into the hold and making the problem worse. This requires the ship's crew to constantly monitor the temperatures and humidity both inside and outside the hold to make the right call. It's a delicate balancing act, but what if you can't ventilate? Or what if the cargo is particularly sensitive? That's where desiccants come in. You've probably seen those little silica gel packets in a new pair of shoes or with the electronics. Desiccants are materials that absorb moisture from the air. For shipping, we use them on an industrial scale. We're talking about large desiccant bags, sometimes called container desiccants or moisture traps, that are hung inside containers or placed throughout the cargo hold. These products are filled with materials like calcium chloride, which is incredibly effective at pulling moisture out of the air and trapping it, often as a gel or a liquid brine, by aggressively lowering the humidity inside the container. Desiccants can keep the dew point low, preventing condensation from ever forming, regardless of the temperature fluctuations outside. They act as a powerful line of defense, protecting the cargo 24/7 throughout its journey. Another important prevention strategy is proper packaging and cargo stowage. Using water-resistant packaging or wrapping cargo in plastic can provide a physical barrier against dripping condensation. When stowing the cargo, ensuring there is adequate airflow around and through the pallets can help prevent pockets of stagnant, humid air from forming. Creating air channels allows the ventilation system or the desiccants to work more effectively, managing the climate of the entire space rather than just isolated spots. Sometimes, shippers will also pre-cool or preheat the cargo before loading to better match the expected temperatures of the voyage, although this can be expensive and is not always practical. Ultimately, preventing ship and cargo sweat is a shared responsibility. It starts with the shipper understanding the nature of their product and the risks of the intended voyage. They need to choose the right packaging and decide if desiccants are necessary. Then, the shipping line and the vessel's crew are responsible for correct stowage, diligent monitoring of conditions, and proper management of the ventilation system throughout the journey. When everyone does their part, the risk of sweat damage can be significantly minimized, ensuring that goods arrive at their destination in the same condition they left the factory. It's a fascinating intersection of physics, engineering, and good old-fashioned seamanship, all to combat the simple but destructive power of a single drop of water. So, the next time you receive a package from across the world, take a moment to appreciate the invisible battle that was fought against the elements to get it to you dry and safe. Ship sweat and cargo sweat are persistent challenges in global logistics, but with the right knowledge and tools, they are challenges that can be overcome. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this deep dive into the world of condensation at sea was interesting and helpful. If you learned something new, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more content about the hidden side of shipping and logistics, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Leave a comment below if you've ever experienced cargo damage from sweat or have any questions. See you in the next video.